Most people overcomplicate a self-directed IRA before they even get started. If I were starting from scratch, this is how I'd do it. Just a quick disclaimer, this is not investing or tax advice. This is just what I would do if it were me and I was starting from ground zero. The first decision I'm making is still the type of IRA, and for most people starting out, even with self-direction, I'd still choose a Roth IRA, and here's why. With a Roth, I'm using money that's already been taxed. That money grows inside the account, and when I take it out later, I don't owe taxes on the gains. That matters even more when I'm self-directing because I might eventually invest in things with higher growth potential. A self-directed IRA just means that I can pick the investments myself. I don't want to build something great over decades and then spend retirement doing tax math on every withdrawal. Next, I need a custodian that actually allows self-direction, and this is really important because not every brokerage that offers IRAs truly offers self-directed IRAs. Some only let you choose from a limited list of funds, and that's not what I'm looking for. I'm choosing a custodian that allows me to invest in things like individual stocks, ETFs, and potentially alternative assets later on if I want to go that route. And that doesn't mean I'm planning to invest in everything under the sun. I just want that option later on. Once the account is open, here's why a lot of people immediately mess up. They fund the IRA and then freeze. The money just sits in cash because they're afraid of making the wrong decision. In a self-directed IRA, this is especially common because people feel the weight of choice, but cash is still a decision, and over long periods, it's usually a bad one. So if I'm starting from zero, I make this rule. Every dollar that goes into my self-directed IRA gets invested intentionally, not eventually, not once I've watched 10 more videos, immediately. I'd rather make a reasonable decision today than wait months for a perfect one that doesn't exist. Now, I want to go over what I'd actually invest in because this is where self-direction can either help or hurt you. If I'm brand new, I'm not using my self-directed IRA to pick random stocks or chase ideas I barely understand. That's not freedom, that's just stress and carelessness. Instead, I'm going to be using my self-directed IRA to choose simple, broad investments that I believe in long term. My core holding would still be a broad stock market ETF or maybe some index style investment, something that gives me exposure to hundreds or maybe thousands of companies at once. The difference is that I chose it intentionally. I understand what it owns, why I own it, and what role it plays in my portfolio. Self-direction doesn't mean complexity, it just means ownership over your decisions. A big reason why I like starting this way is that it builds confidence. Instead of feeling like I'm following a script someone else wrote, I know exactly why my money is invested and where it is. That makes it easier to stay invested when the market gets uncomfortable, and it will get uncomfortable. It's just guaranteed, and it's actually happening right now. But if I chose the investment myself and understood the trade-offs, I'm much less likely to panic when things temporarily go down. So this is where people usually start asking about bonds, and especially what they're like inside a self-directed IRA. Early on, I'm probably not using many bonds, if any, not because they're bad, but because my biggest risk at the beginning isn't volatility. My biggest risk is abandoning the plan. When my account is small, market swings don't really change my life. They're just numbers moving around, and that's actually the best time to get used to volatility. Later, when the account is larger and those things feel heavier emotionally, bonds can play a much bigger role, but early on, growth and simplicity matter more than smoothing out everyday dips. So what does my actual starting self-directed IRA portfolio look like? Honestly, it might still be just one or two investments, and that's it. One main growth investment, maybe complemented later by something else once I have more experience. People sometimes think self-directed means constantly active, and it doesn't. It means intentional. And I'm not trying to prove how hands-on I can be. I'm trying to build something that works without requiring constant attention. Now, I want to talk about the contributions because self-direction doesn't change this part, but it does make discipline more important. If I'm starting from zero, I'm choosing a contribution amount that fits comfortably into my life. Something I can stick with even during months where money feels tight. That might be $50 a month. It might be $100. The number itself isn't impressive, and that's fine. What matters is that it's repeatable. A self-directed IRA only works if money actually goes into it consistently. No strategy can fix inconsistency. And once contributing feels normal, increasing the amount later on becomes much easier and feels a little bit more natural. Going off of that, automation is what protects me from myself. myself. I automate contributions into the self-directed IRA, and I automate investing into my chosen core holdings. I don't want to rely on motivation or market conditions. I don't want to wait for the right time. I want this to happen quietly in the background while I focus on my job, my family, and my life. So I know I've said keep it simple, and that's nice to hear, but a lot of people still want to know what that actually means in practice. So let's say I open a self-directed Roth IRA today and I start with a modest amount. Maybe I roll over a few $1,000s from an old account, or I save up and put $3,000 to get things going. Nothing too crazy. Inside that IRA, my starting portfolio might look like this. The majority of the money, let's say around 70 to 80% of it, goes into a broad US stock market ETF, something that gives me exposure to large established companies across different industries, tech, healthcare, finance, consumer goods, all of it. The reason this makes up the bulk of the portfolio is simple. I want long-term growth, and I want that growth to come from the overall economy, not from guessing which individual company will win. This is the engine of the portfolio. It does most of the work, and it doesn't require me to babysit it. Now, because this is a self-directed IRA, I might use a smaller portion of the portfolio, maybe 10 to 20%, for something slightly different but still disciplined. For example, I might add an ETF that focuses on smaller companies or international markets, not because I think it's going to outperform next year, but because it gives me exposure to different parts of the global economy. This isn't about chasing returns, it's about spreading risk in a way that still makes sense long term. If I'm earlier in my investing life and comfortable with ups and downs, I might stop there. 2 investments, clean and easy to understand. If I want a little stability, especially as the balance grows, I might dedicate a smaller slice, maybe 10%, to something more defensive. That could be a bond-focused investment or something designed to move less when stocks are volatile. But, notice here what's happening. Even with self-direction, I'm not adding things just to add them. Every piece has a role: growth, diversification, and stability. And if my account is small, I might not even bother with that third piece yet. Contributions matter more than fine-tuning early on. Now, I want to talk about how contributions actually flow into a self-directed IRA, because this is where people usually get confused. Let's say I'm contributing $100 a month to this self-directed IRA. I'm not logging in every month and deciding what to buy. I'm not changing allocations based on headlines. I set this up once. Maybe every contribution automatically goes into my main stock market ETF. That keeps things simple and avoids decision fatigue. Over time, as the balance grows, I can rebalance occasionally. That might mean once or twice a year I move things back to my original rough percentages, but not every month, not every quarter, just enough to keep things aligned. The point is that this system does most of the work for you. So this example portfolio isn't trying to win every year, and it's not trying to avoid every downturn, and it's definitely not trying to feel exciting. Some years it'll be up a lot, some years it'll be down, and that's normal. What it's trying to do is give me a structure I can live with for decades. There are also things I intentionally would not do, especially early on. I wouldn't constantly check my balance. I wouldn't react to news headlines. I wouldn't use my self-directed IRA as a testing ground for every new idea I hear about online. Just because I can invest in something doesn't mean I should. Freedom without rules leads to bad decisions, so I'd create simple rules and stick to them. As time goes on and my account grows, self-direction gives me options. Maybe I add other asset types later. Maybe I diversify into different strategies once I truly understand them. Maybe I keep it simple forever. The point is that those decisions happen later, from a position of experience and patience, and not excitement. The first year or two is about proving I can stay invested, contribute consistently, and not sabotage myself emotionally. Once I've done that, self-direction becomes a strength instead of a liability. If I had to sum this up, it would be this: a self-directed IRA doesn't need to be aggressive or complicated to be powerful. It needs to be intentional, consistent, and honestly boring enough that you don't mess it up. If I were starting from $0 today, I'd use self-direction to give myself control and not chaos. I'd keep the structure simple, automate everything I could, and focus on staying invested for the long run. You can always add complexity later. You can't get back the years you spent waiting. So yeah, if I was starting from ground zero, that's exactly how I would build my self-directed IRA portfolio if I were to do it all again today.